Anarchism. Anarchism is seen as a state of governing that really doesn't have a government. It's kind of hypocritical in a way. And it is usually seen in Somalia. There's a lot of civil chaos and disorder because every person doesn't have rights, but each person has an individual right as like their own person. So, as you see here, this is the symbol, which you'll be able to fill in on your matrix, and it's a famous symbol for anarchism throughout the internet. Anarchism today. In Somalia, they were ruled by an anarchy from 1990 to 2004, and like I said before, it was a lot of civil chaos. They had civil wars, and they were not a very good time, especially for an African country, and they did not do well because of the civil unrest throughout the country, because everyone was just saying that they had their individual right, but technically if everyone else had the right, is it really a right? And some of us may have seen the new show, well, not really new, but it's been around here for a while, The Sons of Anarchy. It's basically about this guy named Max, who is in a bike gang, and he is kind of, along with some other people, they believe that the people in charge shouldn't be the people in charge, and there should be no one in charge of the bike gang. And we've seen how this is very violent in bike gangs. I mean, Bike Week, who doesn't love them in Daytona Beach? But there's a lot of violence, so if you're going to watch this, watch out if you have sensitive ears or sensitive eyes. Anarchism and how it relates to the 19th century. Anarchism has led to terrorism throughout different countries, which has led to assassinations. This includes Alexander II, we know the Tsar of Russia, not to be confused with Nicholas II, which we know is part of the Decembrist revolt. But then there's also King Roberto from Italy, President William McKinley from the United States, and another Spanish ruler was assassinated for this ideal. As we can see here, this is the Decembrist revolt, and it's fairly chaotic and violent, like most revolts. It's basically when, as you can see, the radicals on here, and the kind of protectors of Nicholas II and the royal family. And the radicals wanted a constitution so they could be more like Western Europe with different sorts of government, because at this time Russia was still in an absolute kind of monarch, as seen as, because he was the Tsar at the time. And so they wanted to be more like Western Europe, which kind of reminds me of a key way to remember it as a Western culture, because they're kind of more modern in certain ways and being industrialized. That's a whole nother subject. So the radicals wanted to have a constitution from Nicholas I. And to clarify who really these radicals are made up of, it's the educated elite and the elite guards that are protecting the Tsar, and they have been to these other countries, and they've witnessed these different types of ideologies, because they've traveled to these places and seen that they've actually worked, so they're saying, we've got rights, why don't we have them now? And Russia. And this kind of sparks a couple of revolutions, and they've kind of leads to the end of the Romanov line, when people hunted down the last Romanov, which was Nicholas II, when they didn't get a constitution from him, because earlier his relative was actually signing and writing a constitution on the way to the Duma, and some of the radicals, and this lady's name Sophia, she was actually part of an educated elite family, and she just believed that in order to have a constitution and a new sort of government, that they could not have it unless they assassinated any of the remaining monarchs, which would include the Tsar at the time. And so she organized an assassination on him by having suicide bombers to attack his carriage, only to find out that his carriage is bulletproof. And so when that one suicide bomber exploded, the Tsar mistakenly went out of the carriage to look after the wounded, only to realize that there were 3 other suicide bombers, killed him by severing his legs from his body and having a cracked skull, and bled to death. So a constitution at this time was not seen as a very friendly idea, since that's what happened to the Tsar at that time when he was trying to provide a constitution.